If you sell me those chocolates in German, I'll pay you 100,000, said the most influential Mexican businessman at the table with a laugh. That night, the city's most elegant restaurant was full of politicians, businessmen, and journalists. It was a dinner before million-dollar negotiations with a German investor, and everyone was watching the man who was enjoying the moment with his usual arrogance. Ricardo, the Mexican businessman, spoke loudly with a tone of superiority, trying to impress his European guest. He said he knew 5 languages, that he had studied in Switzerland, and that he knew the world's great people. Klaus, the German, listened to him with a diplomatic smile, but deep down he seemed bored. He had heard too many men like him. Everything changed when a girl approached the table with a basket of carefully wrapped chocolates. "Would you like to help by buying a chocolate, sir?" said the girl in a soft but firm voice. Ricardo looked at her mockingly, as if her presence interrupted his show. "You're selling chocolates here?" He laughed. "We're at a business dinner, girl, not on the street." She lowered her gaze for a moment, but didn't back down. "Excuse me, sir. I just wanted to help my mom." The others at the table laughed, except Klaus, who watched her with curiosity. "Come on, Ricardo," said the German. "Leave her alone, maybe she's a good salesperson." Ricardo, wanting to demonstrate control, leaned back in his chair and said in a challenging tone, "All right, but let's make this interesting. If you sell me those chocolates in German, I'll pay you 100,000 pesos. The table erupted in laughter. Everyone expected to see the girl get confused, stammer, or simply give up. But she looked him in the eyes without fear and nodded. "Are you serious, sir?" "Of course," he answered confidently. "If you speak German, I'll give you 100,000. But if not, you'll get a lesson." Silence took over the place. Klaus adjusted his jacket and watched with interest. The girl took a deep breath, raised her head, and began to speak in fluent, perfect German with impeccable pronunciation. The words came out confidently, with such natural intonation that Klaus himself was surprised. The men at the table looked at each other without understanding a single word, while Ricardo tried to hide his discomfort. When she finished, the girl extended a chocolate to the businessman. "That's what you asked for, sir. Now will you keep your word?" Ricardo didn't know what to answer. He froze, searching his mind for an excuse. Klaus leaned forward, still impressed. "Her pronunciation is excellent," he said. "She speaks German more correctly than many of my employees." Ricardo forced a nervous laugh. Well, it was a joke, girl. Don't take it so literally." The girl lowered her gaze, but this time not from shame, but from disappointment. "My mom always says that words are worth more than money, sir." The atmosphere immediately changed. What had been a dinner with laughter became tense. Some men looked away, embarrassed by Ricardo's attitude. Klaus looked at him intently without a trace of sympathy. "A joke?" He said in a dry tone. "In my country, a man of his word doesn't take back his words, especially in front of a child." Ricardo tried to change the subject, but Klaus didn't allow it. "You said you were a man of honor, Ricardo. I need reliable partners. If you don't keep what you promise out of pride, how can I trust you in deals worth millions?" The Mexican felt his pride crumbling. The girl still stood there with her basket in her hands, looking at him with a mixture of innocence and justice. And for the first time in a long time, Ricardo didn't know how to get out of the situation. The tension was so strong that no one dared to break the silence. Klaus slowly placed his glass on the table and said in a firm voice, "I want to see if your word is worth what you say." And at that exact moment, Ricardo understood that he had dug his own grave. With a simple joke, Ricardo felt the air become heavier. The German's gaze pierced him with a mixture of disappointment and judgment. The girl still stood there, holding her basket with small hands that began to tremble. No one said a word. Only the soft ticking of the clock on the wall could be heard, marking the exact second when a powerful man's pride turned into his ruin. "Ricardo," Klaus finally said with a painful calmness, "in Germany a given word is a contract. You yourself said you would pay 100,000 if the girl spoke German. She did it, and she did it better than you." Ricardo tried to smile, but his face was rigid. "You can't be serious, Klaus. It was just a joke, a joke." The German interrupted. His voice sounded firm without rising. "What you just did is not a joke, it's disrespecting honesty. If you treat a poor girl like this, how will you treat your partners when it's convenient for you?" The men at the table lowered their gaze, some embarrassed, others nervous. No one dared to defend him. Ricardo looked around, seeking support, but everyone avoided him. For the first time, he realized he was alone. The girl took a step back as if she wanted to leave. "Don't worry, sir, I don't need your money," she said in a soft voice. "I just wanted to sell some chocolates, not humiliate anyone." That phrase fell like a dagger in Ricardo's heart. Pride burned inside him. But the innocent gaze of that girl weighed more heavily. She didn't hate him. She pitied him. Klaus took a deep breath and stood up. "I can't do business with someone who doesn't keep their word. My values are priceless." Ricardo also stood up, desperate. "Klaus, wait. Don't destroy this over nonsense." The German interrupted him coldly. "It's not nonsense, it's your word." An awkward silence filled the place. Ricardo looked at the girl, then at the German, and finally at his own reflection in the wine glass. His breathing became heavy. He knew that if he didn't keep his promise, he would lose a deal that had taken him months to get. But if he did it, his ego would be crushed in front of everyone. Suddenly, something in him gave way. Maybe it was the exhaustion of pretending, or maybe the clean look of that girl who reminded him of his daughter, whom he barely saw. He lowered his head and took out his checkbook. "Tell me your name, little one," he whispered. "Maria, sir." Ricardo wrote the check with trembling hands, signed it, folded it, and handed it to her. "Here you go, and forgive me, I shouldn't have mocked you." The murmur in the room grew louder. No one expected him to do it. Some applauded softly, others just watched in silence. Klaus, without saying a word, smiled slightly and nodded with respect. "Now I can shake your hand," he said, "because a man who admits his mistake is worth more than one who pretends not to make them." Ricardo looked at him with gratitude, but also with shame. "Thank you for reminding me of what I forgot." The girl hugged her basket and smiled. "My mom always says that when someone keeps their word, heaven rejoices." That phrase moved everyone. Klaus ordered a couple of boxes of chocolates to take away and gave Maria a business card. "When you grow up, if you want to study languages in Europe, show them this. I'll help you." Maria looked at him surprised, almost not believing it. "Really?" "Of course, a mind like yours shouldn't be selling sweets all your life," he answered, while the room burst into discreet applause. Ricardo sat down again with glassy eyes. Inside, something had changed. He no longer thought about the 100,000 he had lost, but about the years he had spent trying to seem more than he was. That night, after everyone left, he remained alone in front of his empty glass. The echo of the girl's words still resonated in his mind. The next day, he called his assistant and asked for information about language schools for children without resources. He created a scholarship called The Value of the Word, and every year that scholarship would remind him that sometimes the biggest lessons come disguised as shame. Weeks later, he received a letter written in childish handwriting. "Thank you, Mr. Ricardo, for keeping your promise. With your help, I'm studying more languages. Maybe one day I can teach you German for real. Maria." He smiled sincerely for the first time in a long time. He understood that the money that initially hurt him to give had been the best investment of his life. You never know who's behind the mask. Appearances can be deceiving, but respect and dignity must always be non-negotiable. And as the camera moved away from the scene of the empty restaurant, one phrase floated in the air, like an undeniable truth. Words, when they are kept, are worth more than any fortune.